Welcome to Self Meets Soul, a podcast where we discuss how to discover what sets your soul on fire and modern ways to integrate spirituality into your daily life. My name is Juliana, and in today's episode, we're going to be chatting about all things embodiment and somatic healing. Our guest today is a sensuality, embodiment, and somatic coach who empowers others to activate their divine feminine through exotic dance and yoga. Asher Hewett is here to share her wisdom on how to step into our power. Welcome to the show, Asher.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here and talk about all the things I love.
Yes, amazing. So before we get into today's topic, I want to know what is something that lights up your soul.
Oh, just one thing. I feel like the very first thing that comes to my mind is the simplicity of sunshine. Me and the sun have a relationship. And I feel like just going outside, and I'm like a lizard. I just like to perch up and roast,
Yes.
Yeah, it feels like it just lights up all my cells and goes deep into my core. And I don't know, I think maybe I like worshipped the sun god in Egypt or something in some other life, because like I said, relationship. So yeah.
Yes. When are you born by chance?
You mean like
your
my
birthday.
birthday? March 1st.
Oh, you got a birthday coming up here soon. Amazing.
I do.
Okay. I was like, are you maybe a Leo? Because I feel that with the sun energy.
Right. Yeah, no, that makes sense. No, I'm a water baby, and I have a lot of earth in my chart,
Oh, okay.
but yeah, still here for the sun.
Yes. So to get us started here, how did you decide to become a somatic coach, and what does it entail for people who might not be familiar?
Yeah. So I actually wasn't I didn't go into coaching thinking, I want to be a coach. I want to be a life coach. I think it was a combination of things that led me here, but mostly in my work with exotic yogini, that work is combining exotic dance and yoga together for women to embrace their sensuality and their divine feminine energy. And in doing that work over time, it's really evolved and grown. And not only have I noticed it in myself as I've done the work and the movement, but also with other women that I've worked with, they'll come to me and, tell me all the things they loved about our workshops that we've done or things like that. And they'll say things like, I don't know why, I just went home and cried and I don't know what about, but it just felt so good, or I needed that or whatever. And so everyone's having these different reactions or responses when we do this work. And so it became very apparent that okay, obviously we're not only moving here. We're doing a lot more on a deeper level than just moving our body. And I began just craving to hold better space for people so that we can dive in and talk about these things and really explore what's going on for them and what's coming up for them. So really it just came from me wanting to offer better support. And so that coupled with the fact that the last year and a half or so, I've been working with my own coach, not a somatic coach. She's more of like a transformational high level coach, but the amount of just ammunition forward in my personal development once I started working with the coach went to like the 10th power, just so much faster and more to the point. So the deep self work has been quite enhanced by working with another person. And so I think from me being coached myself and then me having this desire to hold space for others, that combination with the trifecta, okay, this is the trifecta. um, I went to a retreat. It was my coach's retreat, actually. And it was in Arizona. And I watched her just coach the whole group. And I thought it was so inspiring. It was so fun watching other people be coached by her because all I really know is me and her relationship. And I was in the bathroom and I was just talking to the ladies and they're like, oh my gosh, isn't she amazing? Like, I just don't know how she always knows exactly what to say and all this stuff. And one of the ladies said to me, well, she's trained. And it never dawned on me that you can be trained in something like what she does. Because to me, it just seems like she has a knack, which she does. But it was great to know. So that kind of got me on this journey of okay, I can be trained in how to hold space better for others. So then I just went on the journey of, I went into ChatGPT actually and was like, this is everything I'm craving to do for women. What do I even Google? And somatic coaching was one of many things that came up. And I researched everything that chat suggested to me. And somatic coaching was just what resonated the most. And so I went down that rabbit hole and here we are.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. That's so cool that you were able to kind of get in that space and realize through your own coach, like, oh, this is something that I could do too and I desire doing, but I didn't know that like it could be an actual thing. Because I feel like so much of the time we have these desires and these callings, but we just get in our heads about it. So it can be really helpful to see someone else actually doing it and then inspire us to get started on that journey.
Yeah, for sure. It's always nice when we get examples from other people that things could be done.
Definitely, yeah. So going a bit further into that, so embodiment is a big part of the practice. So how would you define that?
Yeah, I think embodiment to me is exactly how it sounds, being in body and not so much in the headspace, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Just it's more of like a holistic thing. Like, yes, we're taking our thoughts into account, but we're bringing our entire body online. So being in touch with like, what am I feeling right now? What am I sensing? Like, and not and also being aware of what's going on in the body and how we're feeling from a place of allowing and curiosity versus a place of judgment or suppression or like, I don't know why I'm feeling that, I need to stop that. This is more of a curious state, so we can stay here in our body with a certain sense of safety, like it's okay to be here and it's telling me something, let's explore that. And I think that anytime we can do that, we're being embodied.
No, definitely. I feel like
Yeah.
that's a natural reaction, usually most of the time, is when you have these emotions that you have labeled as negative. Like they're undesirable emotions. No one wants to be sad. No one wants to be mad. No one wants to be jealous. They're these feelings that come up, and immediately your first reaction is to try and just like get over it or stuff it down or whatever, instead of, like you said, getting curious about why is it that I'm feeling that way. So do you feel like that ties in with shadow work too?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Because I mean, shadow work is exactly what we're trying to avoid, right?
Mhm.
That's why it's called shadow work, is shove it away in some dark
Right.
corner. So yeah, I think the more that you practice embodiment and treating yourself that way, the harder it is to ignore and the easier it is to address
Right.
kind of anything going on in yourself.
Totally. Yeah. Typically, women have those feelings as well. And I think even though there's this whole idea of like, oh, women are emotional and they're the ones who are allowed, I guess, to express those emotions, even though we still get judged for it. Like they're saying that's why a woman can't be president or whatever they say. I feel
Mhm.
like women tend to fall more into this realm of losing that embodiment and kind of going away from that. So why do you think so many women feel disconnected from their bodies and just even just their sensuality in general too?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a really good question. I think that, I mean, I think a few different things are at play. Definitely, like as a culture, we're very masculine, energy driven. So I think from a societal standpoint, like you said, it's like we get a little bit more leeway than the men, but only so much still. Like we're only allowed to feel so deeply and express that. So I think maybe two main things besides personal trauma. I'm sure, we all have our own story and probably reasoning of why we are disconnected from our bodies or our sensuality. But mostly, I think being sensual means to feel deeply. It means to bring all your senses online. That's
Mm.
what sensual is. What can I touch? What can I smell? What can I see? What can I hear? What can I feel? So anytime we do that and we're opening ourselves up, that means we're open to feel deeply. And sometimes feeling deeply is scary and it doesn't feel good, or it brings things up, triggers us. We can have a lot of nervous system responses. And then I think the other thing is, yeah, being judged from a societal standpoint. Not only being judged as maybe too much or too this or that, but a lot of the times it seems like people really couple together sensuality and sexuality, and they're two different things. So I think women have this deep fear of being sexualized when they're being sensual or when they are being embodied and really embracing themselves. It starts to get a little
Mhm.
fuzzy and intermingled and twisted. And then at that point, when you're being judged on a nervous system level, that just reads as a threat. Like, whether you're being shamed or you have this unwanted sexualization happening, it activates the same neural circuitry as physical danger.
Mhm.
And for eons, it's like societal rejection is a survival risk. So I kind of feel like those are the main reasons why we are disconnected from or that women can become disconnected from their bodies and from their sensuality. It's just easier to just kind of let's dim it down and be small, because if we feel too deeply or we integrate too much, not only can we be seen as something we don't want to be seen as,
Mhm.
but it could also start bringing up some deep feelings in us that we just don't want to feel anyway.
Right. I'm so glad you brought that up because as you even said when you first started responding and talking about sensuality being in the senses, and like, I didn't even, my brain was like, oh, yeah, duh, that's like the root of the word. But I didn't go there. I went to sexuality. Like, I thought of it more in that sense, just because of, like you
Yeah.
said, what we're typically told about it. So, how would you kind of separate the two for maybe people who have like a hard time understanding why they're so different?
Yeah, what the difference is really. Well, like we said, I think sensuality is more of bringing our senses online. And when we have a fear there, it can feel very much like it's not safe to feel this much. There's like too much, like sensory overload. I feel a lot,
Mhm.
so that can be kind of more when you're in fear of your sensuality. And our sexuality is more of like our sexual
Yeah.
feelings, our sexual preferences, our desires, our relationship with our body sexually. And you can be, while you're being sexual, you can be sensual, but when you're being sensual, it doesn't mean you're being sexual.
I got
So
you.
the and I feel like with sexual shame or fear, it can very much be like, um, I'm bad if I want or enjoy sex. So if I don't want to go too much in my sexuality, it's because that's too much. Or like I'm bad if I like that. I'm bad if I want that kind of pleasure, or if I portray that to the world too much, like that's very much behind closed doors. Where, like I said, a sensual fear is more like, it's not safe to feel. One's a little bit more like in your desire preference realm of what gets you going.
Right.
And the other one is just this deeply feeling realm. And when they do come together, it is a beautiful thing.
Mhm.
And it's not to say that our sexuality is bad or that we don't want to highlight that. Great if you feel comfortable and you're feeling like a good healthy relationship with that. We are still sexual beings as well. So we still need to honor that. But I think it is important to know that they're two different things.
Mhm.
And when you're being sensual doesn't mean you're being sexual. And it's safe to be sensual without having that fear of, am I going to be over sexualized if I'm being sensual?
Right. No, that totally makes sense because too I feel like with movement, which we'll touch on more a bit later, but with movement you can move sensually, like you said, being in the feelings of how you're moving and in your body, but some people, some outsiders may look at that and think of it as sexual movement, or maybe a woman wants to kind of dance that way and get into that exotic dance, but then she's maybe afraid because she, like you said, doesn't want to be perceived sexually. So that can be
Yeah.
challenging for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So you also kind of touched on obviously women can feel disconnected from their bodies because of personal traumas too. So just from a somatic perspective, how does the body, from what you've noticed, remember what the mind tries to forget or block typically?
Yes. Yes. I feel like when you say that, that reminds me of that saying, your issues lie in your tissues.
Oh,
Have you
oh,
heard of
I
that?
like that. I like that.
Yes. I mean, so this is from the premise of, I don't know, maybe you've heard of the book, Your
What's
Body
the
Keeps
score?
Score. Yeah. It's kind of the same realm as that. It's like the reason why you can be feeling fine for the day, go get a massage and just start crying randomly on the massage table when somebody's really working, I don't know, your glute out and maybe you had something stuck in there. So kind of all from that same premise. And I think that our mind, or so issues lie in your tissues. Our body is like this recording system, or almost like this computer system. And I think the easiest way to explain it is maybe talking about the emotional loop. So usually when we have an emotion or something happen, let's make it really simple. Like say you are in the grocery store. Okay. I use this example because this happened to me not that long ago. So, and it dawned on me when it was happening that this emotional loop was happening. So say you're in the grocery store and, you're shopping around and you're picking out some toilet paper. You're getting overwhelmed by the toilet paper because all these different prices, and you only have like so much money to spend. So you're getting overwhelmed and you have these like emotions come up and you're like, oh, I'm having all this emotions happen. I literally just want to break down crying right now, but I'm in the middle of the grocery store. So I can't. So what do? We suppress that and swallow it down. You can literally feel when you're holding back those tears. So the emotional loop got stopped. It's like, have this feeling, oh, it's erupting. I need to feel it. Can't. So it stops right here. And it doesn't just go away. It goes somewhere and it stores in your body. If I was able to sit there and cry, let it out and work through that, say, what is this? What is my body telling me? What do I need to feel right now? We can complete that loop and then a clearing happens. But if we stop the cycle, stop this emotional loop, it gets stuck and it gets stuck somewhere. And a lot of the times it will store physically. If we put our energetic goggles on, it literally sits in our body somewhere and it waits for us to find later, a lot of the times ends up becoming our shadow work. Mm-hmm. And this can be big things or even simple things like crying at the store about toilet paper. Okay. But so I think when we're in this emotional loop and it gets stuck, it gets recorded in our bodies, but our mind still goes on. If I didn't think to myself, okay, I'm having an emotional experience right now, this is not really a safe space for me to do this, and I went home and I never addressed it again, my mind went on.
Yeah.
But it was still there in my body. So, when you can become more aware of that, I made time for myself after the store and was like, let's tap back into that space. What did I need to feel in that moment? What was erupting out of me? Like, oh, I was feeling overwhelmed because of this. And that makes me feel, whatever, down the rabbit hole. And then I can have my somatic release. I can feel that for what it needs to be. I can honor it and address what my body was trying to tell me. I can shed some tears if needed. And then it's lifted, it's cleared out of the system. So I feel like our minds, they move on quickly. And that's how we can get so bogged down with things that we don't address within ourselves over time.
Yeah.
But our body is still holding that. I think somatically, that's what it means when we have trauma or, on a grand scale or a minute scale, store somewhere. And that's what a somatic release would be as well, is to come back, is to have enough space and time for yourself to get quiet, to ask yourself those questions, to be curious and to allow come up what needs to for you to address so that you can feel that, complete that emotional loop.
Yeah.
And then it can free you,
No, definitely. And when you said earlier, the more you recognize these things, or the more you tap into it, the quicker you are able to recognize it. So even when you were like, I use this example because as it was happening to me, I realized it was happening to me, which is just such a powerful place to be in your just like healing journey anyways. I feel like I've noticed that too, even with just stuff I've been working on with my therapist, like being able to catch it in the moment, like, oh, this is happening right now. And instead of kind of like panicking about it or judging it, more so accepting it and getting curious about it.
Yeah.
That's really powerful because even with the small things, like you said, like this can even happen with small things. And I think that's really important to highlight because sometimes I know I personally feel like when I'm upset about something, or I'm just like, I want to cry about something because I am a crier, whether it's like happy, upset, sad, like whatever it is, that if it's something minuscule, let's say, you feel guilty about it. And so you do try to suppress it. And anytime I have tried to do that, it is either just so uncomfortable, like it feels so uncomfortable and hard to keep it in,
Yeah.
or B, you can't. You just can't, even if you try.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
I just had the worst thought. I'm just like, wow, this really reminds me of farting because
You know what? That's so true.
I'm like, I know this is way left field, but when you describe this, this is like literally my relationship with farts.
Either you're in pain, that's true. You're either in pain and you get a stomach ache, or it just comes out and you can't help it.
Yeah. And then the more you like kind of let it come out, the harder it gets harder and harder to suppress it.
Yeah.
Like, at least that's been my experience. Now I'm just kind of like, it accidentally slipped out. Nope. These better out there. Yeah. Okay.
No, that was a good comparison because
Good
we all deal with
analogy.
that, I'm sure.
Yes.
No, but that was a really good way to put that emotional feedback loop too. So the takeaway from that is you have to go back to it. Like you have to come back and address it. Otherwise, your
Yes.
body is going to store it, and then you're down the road like, why do I have this giant knot in my back? Why are my hips so tight? Like,
Right. Yeah. Why is it that every time I want to balance my checkbook, I want to have a panic attack? I mean, like it could be like anything and all these little things piled up. And it could be like, why am I being so strange about this simplest thing? And it's like, well, you didn't address something in yourself at some point, or you're not addressing something. And that's where the somatic coaching is really nice, because the difference between other types of coaching and somatic coaching is really, it's all the same, other than with somatic coaching, we bring the body online and actually go through that process together of like, okay, like we might still talk a lot conceptually,
mm-hmm.
but we bring the body into it too. Like, what are you feeling right now as we're saying that? What's coming up for you? And you know, and it comes with all kinds of other little experiments and exercises you can do that are somatic. But that's really what it's about, is treating the body as this holistic thing instead of just coming at your life from this conceptual space. It's like, let's come at your life from this curious place, bringing our brain into it with what's called the body mind, because the body knows before the mind even
Mm-hmm.
begins to unwind anything. The body's already there.
So true. And you really do notice that with just anything. And I feel like, would you say some people probably feel those messages that are, related to their feelings in different parts of the body, like it shows up for different people in different places?
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. Even in myself, depending on what it is or what I'm kind of, a popular somatic approach or exercise for something like that is called focusing. And that's literally when you get settled into your body, get relaxed, turn on the senses. So tap in that way. And then thinking of, okay, thinking of when you're at the grocery store the other day, where do you feel that in your body? And for me, that could have maybe been in my heart or my shoulders, and at the time I don't remember where I felt it. But and you could be talking about a different subject, and maybe for me it's like, I actually feel that oddly in my hips and my glutes right now, and it's feeling tight as I'm talking about it,
Hmm.
whatever. So I think that even you as an individual, it kind of just manifests forever depending on the subject matter.
Right.
Definitely varies person to person. And it varies. Some people are really sensitive to like sensations, and some people are really visual. Like I have a client I work with, and they might tap into like a certain part of their body, but they get like a picture and like a whole little like scene that's happening in their heart or something. Or somebody else might be like, yeah, I feel this like tightness in my
Mhm.
chest. So it's kind of interesting how everybody's body communicates with them differently. But the reoccurring thread is everybody's body does
Right.
communicate.
Exactly. I feel like, not to go back to the farting example, but that just reminded me of when, I don't know, I have moments, I feel like, when I'm nervous about something or anxious about something, like it typically is a tightness in the chest, but if it goes on for too long, I guess, it will like turn into a stomach ache and then like actually like stimulate my digestive system, if you know what I mean. And that's
Mm-hmm.
always just been so wild to me how like you can feel something so intensely that like your body has to expel it in a way. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That is really interesting. It's like, okay, if we can't address this another way, we're just going to
Right. What exit can we use?
Yeah.
Yeah, because people puke too from like being nervous and things like that, or upset, really
Yeah.
upset.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, even on a lighter note, even yawns are huge signs of like nervous system regulation and a release through the body. It's just like when you're like, God, I can't stop yawning right
Yeah.
now. A lot of the times that could be a sign of like expelling and getting out. It's another release.
Okay, that's good to
Yeah.
know. I didn't know it could come out that way, but that would make sense because I feel like sometimes you're yawning, but you don't actually feel tired, or you slept well, but you don't know why.
Yeah.
All right, very good to know.
Yeah.
So, talking more about the body, what would you say masculine overdrive looks like in the body, like for women especially?
Yes, masculine overdrive. Okay, well, first off, yeah, masculine overdrive in its simplicity is definitely that part of us that's like, go, 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 do, produce, be productive, don't rest. We don't got time. We don't got time for this. I can do it myself. Like, no one's going to do it right. I can't trust anyone. So masculine overdrive is this like imbalance of overproductivity, which our entire society is built on,
Hmm.
so we have a ton of pressure to perform that way anyways. And we get a lot of like underlying shame when we choose to rest or honor our cycles that way and our needs. So I think for a woman and how that could manifest could be, I mean, just it can manifest as burnout, like you just completely take a shit, you know, not literally. Gosh, here we are again. Wow. Okay, yes, but you just burn out. It can manifest as even becoming really resentful because it's just like you're doing too much. Maybe you just feel off and you're out of alignment with you. You don't feel yourself, and it gets to the point where you just don't even really know what that looks like or feels like to
Hmm.
be in alignment and attune with yourself. You can just be straight up disconnected from joy. Just kind of having like the life and joyousness sucked right out of you. A lot of the times when us women are like overdoing it, we feel underappreciated or unseen. Anyways, yeah. So, or, it could even be like when you feel guilty when you rest, you yourself, you're like, gosh, I shouldn't be doing that. I need to always be planning. I need to always be doing something. I just can't slow down. I can't get comfortable even sitting for a little bit. Anxiety is at peak point. Maybe you have a hard time receiving. It can, because you're always doing, it starts to become hard to even receive from anyone or anywhere. So yeah, and obviously all these things are survival tactics.
Hmm.
It's usually we usually get in that place because we're trying to survive. And, our nervous system just ends up going into like serious survival mode and an overdrive. So that's how it can manifest in our lives and just kind of look in daily life. I think for men and
Yeah.
women, for women specifically, I think that's a lot of ways that it tends to show up for us.
Mhm. When you're working with a client who is kind of saying those things to you, like, it's just better because I feel like I fall into that trap too. Like, I know it will be done well if I'm the one doing it. Like, it's just, it'll go by faster. It'll get done right. I need to get this done and then I'll rest. And then comes the time to rest. And then you're like, but I could also do this. What do you usually suggest for them when that happens?
Usually working with somebody individually, we kind of come up with what comes up for them on a deep internal knowing level. I mean, like when coming at it from a coaching sense, I try not to just tell people what to do. But really a suggestion would be to just carve out a little bit of like ritual time. So it's like get out your calendar, and choose how much time you can allot to yourself, be it 15 minutes, a half hour, an hour. If you're like me, it's 2 hours.
That's the best way.
And like block it out on your calendar when you can put time aside to only nurture you, whether that's maybe you want to, slow down and read a book. Maybe you just want to take a bath and zone out. For me, it's usually a movement practice, like where I just let my body lead and kind of somatically move and just like, what does my body want from me today? So for everyone, that's going to look a little bit different depending on what we're talking about and what they're craving and within their being, deep in their being, whether it comes to maybe how they're going to fill up that time. But usually it's to just block time out and to commit to it and protect it with your life.
Right. Definitely.
Because if we don't prioritize it, then we're always just going to skim over it. And if we don't kind of ritualize it and commit to it, like force ourselves. I don't like that word to be like, force yourself to do it, but essentially like you're committing to it and you're not going to be like, well, not today. We don't have time. Well, then you're right back into the overdrive, like, putting yourself to the wayside to complete other things. Like you have to make time where we can get quiet enough and slow to figure it out what we need,
right?
To figure out what it is that we need. Yes. So that's usually what I suggest, is to just commit to a time block.
Yep. Make it a non-negotiable, especially for the people who like you're saying, they live by a calendar, or I feel like type A people would really resonate with that. Like you can still be your type A self, but you can make sure you include your self-care into that. That's not a,
Right.
if I have time. That's a, oh, this is in my calendar, like you said, and I'm not going to move it, just like I'm not going to move whatever other meeting that I have for work or whatever I'm doing for a friend, because I'm just as important and deserve that time too.
Yeah. Yes. I love that. A non-negotiable.
Yeah, definitely. And so kind of expanding more into that, you've definitely touched on this, but when thinking about embodiment, how does just allowing it to fully be your practice and a part of your everyday life, how does it help us move from the wounded feminine into more divine feminine expression?
Yes. Well, I feel like just the practice of having the intention of being more embodied and taking time for ourselves, listening, allowing, being curious, everything that we've really talked about is the epitome of divine feminine energy. Because our divine feminine energy is when we take our innate feminine energy, which we all have, whether you're male or female. We all have this, the typical, or not the typical, but like the baseline feminine energy, which is, our softness. It's our natural, it's going with the ebbs and flows and feeling things. And, it's the opposite of our do go mentality. It's the opposite of our masculine energy. It's a little bit softer. But when it becomes like this divine feminine energy, it's taking that feminine energy that already exists within us and is intentional with it. Mm-hmm. So when we're intentionally listening to ourselves, when we're intentionally blocking out that time that's non-negotiable, when we're intentionally, doing a movement practice so that we can feel more and release the issues in our tissue. Anytime that we're directing the energy with intention, it becomes divine, because it becomes more of like a spiritual practice at that point, really. It's not just happening by default. It's happening because we're giving purpose to it. And that is the epitome, I think, of divine feminine energy, when we're not just bypassing ourselves, or we're not just like operating off of default. We're being deliberately intentional with getting like present with ourselves and whatever that is that we need in that moment.
Definitely. And I think it helps to remember too, like you mentioned earlier, this wounded feminine, the masculine overdrive, all of that is so prevalent mostly in our society. You can look at societies today and different cultures today and different countries, and it's not like this. It's not this what we have here in this typical like go, go, go all the time type of energy. So my mom's Italian. And so I grew up going to Italy and just, being in Europe, and the culture is just not the same. Like, in pretty much all of Europe, they have like vacation in all of August. Like, people just don't work. But that's like the normal thing. They give people time to slow down, and this hustle culture. Sure, I mean, do they have issues with stuff? Yeah. But who
Right.
doesn't, right? But I
Yeah.
feel like in general, people are just happier and more
Yeah.
present and more connected with community, whereas we
Mm,
don't have that here. So it's definitely not something to be ashamed of. And like you said, thinking of it as returning to this baseline that we all actually have, that we are meant to be tapping into and expressing, and we'll find ourselves being happier, and that would do wonders for the collective, because like we need that right now.
yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yes. No, I love that you highlighted that and bring that up, especially because I I also need to be better about my speech and realize that like the whole world isn't the US, first off, even though that's what my world is right
Right.
now. Yes, I love hearing about other cultures and realize they are operating a little bit more from a feminine standpoint. I would say that like in the US, we are just so masculine
Mm-hmm.
heavy, you know. And like I said, not talking like men,
Right.
I'm just saying energetically wise, like we have built this nation on of masculine
Right.
energy. And that's great. We need that, but we need balance, right?
Totally. Totally.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So we've talked about movement, embodiment, all of that. So thinking more about just the movement aspect. So how can sensual movement and dance help regulate the nervous system in ways that maybe traditional therapeutic methods might not? Because obviously this isn't really something that, when you go see a therapist, it's not often easy to find, right? So how can this be different for regulating your nervous system rather than traditional methods?
Yeah. Um yes, of course this is a special place in my heart cuz I teach it. But what I really like about the sensual exotic movement not only do we have what movement in general does for our system, you know, what we already know, that movement, exercise, things like yoga, stuff like that is already, you know, acting like our endorphins, it's detoxing, it's, you know, doing all the physical things that we know it's doing. Plus, it really brings in this like somatic alchemy element of pleasure. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's when we are pleasurably rolling our hips, not only are we releasing a lot of tension, which might, by the way, like us as women specifically, humans in general, but women specifically, we carry a ton of tension and trapped emotions and trauma in our hips and our pelvis and that womb area. So even just something as simple as hip circles creates not only space for things to be released, but it's also fun.
Yeah.
And it also is naturally stirring up our feminine energy. So you start saying to your nervous system is like, ah, there's safety in pleasure. Like I'm safe to have pleasure while I'm healing and processing and confronting. And this like internal, you know, even if maybe you're moving your hips and it's like, oh, like, is this naughty? Should I be doing this? Like, is this allowed? Even that moment of having those feelings yet doing it anyway
Mm-hmm.
creates this internalized like alchemy process where you're transmuting that. And that's signaling to your nervous system, like, okay, we're safe. We're not getting hung or chastised for this. I actually kind of like it. It's kind of fun. Oh, I'm releasing tension. I'm actually you know, like there's kind of a lot going on
Yeah.
there, but it's everything that movement already does with us, plus this rewiring of safety and joy at the same time, and you become embodied with those things. and they become like their own little erotic energy that you're working with. Yeah. And it becomes this reclamation of your sensuality and your body, and a reclamation of your body as a temple of pleasure, of intuition, of divine wisdom, of feminine, and that it's okay and it's safe and like we're here and nothing happened to us.
Right. And I think like even just if you think about from just like a social aspect too, of just why there are clubs and why there are like dance raves and stuff like that. There's a reason why it feels freeing and good to just be around other people who are just moving and like allowing themselves to get lost in the movement and just letting things go.
Yes, it's so freeing. Yeah. Just music and movement together have this just such this magical, powerful effect. Even if we can't put words to everything that's happening, like you can tell it's good for you. You're like, I needed that.
Yeah,
And so even if you can't explain it, right down to the nitty gritty, it's like you can feel it.
exactly.
Um, yeah. I mean, I feel like that's why even back in the day, like, back when they'd make movies like Footloose and stuff, when dancing is like so kind of like, don't do that here. We don't dance. It's like, well, why? Why was there ever a culture that didn't, or like think of Elvis days. He was such a rebel
Yeah,
dancing on stage like that. I mean, just moving his hips a little bit. And it's like, well, why? And it's because it's like, I think on a deep seated level, like, people knew that it was liberating, it was freeing, it made you feel things that you were like, like, it made you feel deeper.
right. That's so true. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's crazy. I'm glad I'm not living in those times.
Me too. I'd be burned at the stake.
Right. No, for real. Probably anyone listening to this episode too would be like, bitch. God.
I mean, I'm like, my profession outside of my business, Exotic Yogini, for the last 7 years, my profession is a professional exotic dancer. And even just like my past partner, he struggled with it so bad. His family at least didn't ever say anything to my face, but I know they didn't like it. But I'm just like, even that, like, I understand that's taking it to another level, but I'm just like, what is this? Footloose? Not allowed to dance for money? Like, what the heck?
Like, can a girl just dance?
I just had to make money at the same time.
Right. God. Don't hate me because I'm making money having fun.
I'm like, I'm sorry, it's the best job I've ever had, but okay.
Hate it. It's fine. Awesome. So, last question here. So, what are some ways that listeners can start incorporating movement and embodiment into their daily lives? Where can they start if they listen to this and they're like, I want to be more intentional with this? Like, this sounds amazing.
Yes. Okay. 2 methods. Number 1, I'm definitely going to promote myself, and recommend that you go check out my membership. I have a membership online. My website is called exoticyogini.com. And the membership is the Exotic Yogini membership. It's $15 a month, and you get access to my whole library of exotic yoga flows. And I got all kinds of stuff in there, somatic exercises, and we even have like sexy drills if you just want to do like a 10 to 15 minute little sexy workout that gets you a little sweaty. There's a variety in there. So I highly recommend that. And adding that into your daily practice, even if you're like a type 2 that like you're a gym goer and you want to lift weights, because I do that too. I consider this an add-on, something that complements other fitness workouts, because this is not only going to target flexibility and strengthening and toning in your body, but this brings somatics in as well. So this is going to be a very embodied way to approach that and to meet yourself. So 2 in 1 there. But on a simpler note, just kind of like we talked earlier, if you just want to start small, just time time block that on your calendar and commit that, for at least 15 minutes a day, I'm just going to ask my body what it wants. I'm going to put some music on and I'm just going to let my body lead. Maybe you do neck rolls for 15 minutes long. I don't know, but that is a somatic practice, letting your body lead, not thinking about it, not judging it, and not trying. We're not performing. We're not having to make it look any way. I mean, you can sit there and gyrate for 15 minutes. That's just a way to meet yourself, get movement into your day, and start a somatic practice. But if you'd like a little bit more structure and like to be a part of a community, then I highly recommend my membership. And if you'd like to go deeper into that and actually have a movement practice, but also have a coaching support, then of course, get a hold of me one-on-one and we can work together one-on-one through coaching. Because whether or not while you're moving, you're like, I'm having feelings, I want to talk about this thing, whether it happens like that, or you just have a regular movement practice. So you're regularly releasing things out of your tissues. It might be that over time, you have things come up throughout your week, or you had an epiphany, or whatever. I think that bringing the coaching in, like this deep inner work support with having movement in your life and coupling them together, creates this synergistic blend that really just kind of blows you open and takes your deep inner work to an elevated level.
Definitely. Perfect. I was going to ask you that anyways. I was going to ask for your promotion and for you to drop. So we got exoticyogini.com. So I'll make sure to put that in the show notes as well. And then any social media you want to share with the listeners if they want to follow you as well.
Okay. Yes. I mostly hang out on Instagram, exotic_yogini. I am on TikTok too, but I struggle with TikTok.
I know.
Honestly, they don't love my content. I don't know. I've been not shadow banned, but I've been like censored on that so many times. And it'll even be like a stretching tutorial where I'm fully clothed and we're talking about stretching and opening our hips, and it'll be like lunges and shit. I'm like, I don't think that this is inappropriate and goes against your guidelines. So I struggle with them because they're like a little strict for me and my account. But that one is exotic__yogini, double underscore, because my other account before I got locked out of that one. So
you got to get creative here.
Oh yeah, so double underscore now. But anyways, I'm mostly just on IG. When I'm not going MIA. I just went MIA for the holidays.
That's you should. You need it.
As I do. Yeah, like
right. Well, perfect. Thank you for sharing that. Any other things, or those are mostly your spots?
My biggest suggestion would be maybe follow me on social media, but to get on my newsletter, like my email list which you can do through my website or through my Linktree and my Instagram, because that's where I update, and I don't send a ton of emails. I kind of hate emails. So don't overload your inbox, but that's anytime I'm doing a workshop or a retreat or have kind of dropped something new, then I alert my email list first. So that would be a good way to also stay just kind of updated and connected.
Well, thank you so much again, Asher, for being on the show.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Juliana. I thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. I love talking about all things embodiment and feminine rising power and energy and anything to do with growing self. I've always been obsessed with just diving into life and like personal growth and expansion. So I can talk about all this stuff for days.
Amazing. Awesome. Well, that's all that I have for you today, everyone. Thanks so much for listening. If you like this episode, please be sure to leave a review and share this podcast. You never know who in your life might resonate with it. Chat with you later.